Well, it's absolutely wet and windy outside, really horrible conditions. No one wants to fish in that. It's a perfect day to have a little rummage around my pole float collection and my stack of trays. I'm getting asked all the time lately the sort of rigs and setups I have for spring and summertime commercials. So I thought I'd just concentrate on that today. I can do some on river fishing and canal fishing and silverfish sort of rigs a bit later perhaps, but for now I'm just going to concentrate on me commercial rigs and what I've got set up at the moment. Now it does change. It's in a constant state of flux, my rigs. I'm always tweaking things. I'm always moving winders around, and it depends where I'm fishing or the time of year as well. But at the moment, I'm quite happy with how my rigs are. I've got wide takers coming up, festivals, Fishermanias, match list qualifiers, UK champs, all sort of big sort of events. So without further ado, let's have a little look at my stacks unit and just see what's what.
You gate crashing my film? All right then, we'll have a little stroke and then we'll carry on filming. Well, it doesn't look like he's going anywhere, so we'll carry on and hopefully he won't scratch me too much. So this is what we got. We've got 4 trays and a lid here. The bottom tray, the 4th tray, is just full of odds and sods, stuff that I you know, if I'm absolutely bagging down the edge and get seen off 2 or 3 times, and I've got a rig in there perhaps, or rigs for coaching or bits and bobs. All right then, you. Yeah, you gonna go? No, right, you're gonna stay there. Okay, so this is a top tray. This is what I would class as me sort of F1 and small carp tray really. Everything on here is on 016 or 014 main lines. My silverfish rigs this time of year for commercials are generally on 014. And this is the float I use. It's a Malman Cedar. Beautiful float, nice and slim. And just nice and sensitive. A solid plastic tip, 1.2mm carbon stem. Just really, really nice. But it's also strong. It's made from foam. All my floats, 99% of them are made out of foam bodies. I've under no obligation to use balsa bodied floats now, so I don't, because I just think foam's much stronger. And the only way to make a balsa float strong is to add about 7 coats of paint. And with these, you just have a little wash. And that's it, and they're good to go. So and I just think they're more buoyant, they're dead strong. So, and that's what I use. So anyway, those secrets are what I use for my silverfish and light F1s and stuff with like maggots and casters and something delicate. I'll see if I've got a secret here I can show you. There, that's the Malman Cedar. So nice and slim, wire eye rather than a spring eye, which I think is essential for good presentation for silverfish. Well, for all species really, but more so for silverfish and F1s and where you want just a bit more quality presentation really. So that's what I use for roach and F1 and things through the water, and that a delicate rig for this time of year really. Solid 1.2mm plastic tip, carbon stem, no nonsense float, but also very sensitive float. So but my go-to float at this time of year for small carp F1s where there's nothing too monstrous are these. Now these are Malman Dusties, and they've got a titanium stem, these ones. They do them in metal and carbon as well, but I quite like the titanium stem for these. So that's the shape, slightly fatter in the body. It's a thicker tip, it's a 1.5mm hollow tip, and it's got this really important, it won't bend out of shape or anything, so it'll just keep springing back to... I don't personally see a use for a normal wire stem float in my own commercial fishing, so at this time of year anyway. Everything's got to be robust and last and not fail on me halfway through a match, so that's what I use. But that's a go-to float. I'll use that for all sorts of baits, anything you can think of, and in any sort of depth. So I've got them from 4x10 right up to 4x16. And then the final float I've got in the... Oh no, sorry, I've got 2 other floats in this tray. I've got these, which are Malman Cedars. Now that's the cedar there, but I've just chopped, I don't know if you can see, I've just chopped the tip down for 3 or 4mm. I'll probably show you how I do that on another film, because I do get asked how I modify my floats. And I just chopped a few mil off the stem as well. And what these floats are, I've only got them in 0.4. and they're shotted with number 9s. At the moment you can just about see you've got a strong bulk of number 9s there on the winder, and these are just for boshing it right down in shallowish water, sort of down the edges or against islands, but with pellets. Summer pellet fishing, or summer for F1s and stuff, where I just want a real short but stable float, short hook length for fishing things like expanders and stuff like that, for F1y type venues, you know, Tunnel Barn Farm and Packington Fishery and places like that. So that's what that's a bit of a modified float, but I can see me using that a lot more this summer for certain conditions. Hello, you all right? Did you like that one? And then the final float in there, I've got some dolphins. They're in 0.8 and 0.6. I've just got 2 of each there at the moment. There they are. And they're in 0.6 and 0.8, and they're just for deeper pegs, deeper than average pegs. You know, anything that's like 3 sections deep, top 4 on an old pole, but it's 3 sections deep or more really. Skimmers and just real positive sort of bagging in deeper pegs. Or if it's really hacking through, then that's what I'll swap to as well. Again, they've got a titanium stem. So before I move on, I just suppose I should say on a titanium stem I'll use 3 or 4 rubbers. You can see that, 3 or 4. And then, but on a carbon and glass stem, I'm jumping ahead of myself here, I only use two rubbers. I actually find the third rubber, if you have a rubber there, it doesn't do any use, but it actually can stick in the surface tension. Something Pete Rice taught me long time ago, and so he only uses 2 rubbers. Sometimes actually he only uses 1, but a third rubber down there is unnecessary on a strong carbon stem, and it just helps the float cop through the water quicker. Whereas if you have a third one there, yes, you could say, oh, if that top one breaks, then you've got a spare one, but that very rarely happens. So that's what I do there. And also you can probably see on this, excuse my nail, is the top rubber is shorter than the bottom one. It's probably about twice as long, and that last rubber, something I say a lot when I'm coaching, is it should overlap the base of the float, so it's a continuation of the float to the line. If that rubber was moved up, let's move it up here. I see a lot of pole rigs where the rubber's sort of like that, and then you can create more tangles if it's like that. But if you overhang the rubber at the end and have it slightly longer than you would normally, then it becomes a continuation of the float, and you get a lot less tangles as a result. So that's a little tip for you. So and we've moved on to this float. Now this is, if I just show you as a comparison, on the right we have a Dusty Titan, and on the left we have a Rube. And as you can see, the bristle is thicker on the Rube. It's also got a carbon stem, and that's my go-to float for big carp. I'm at Viaduct Fishery tomorrow. Places like that, or Belingi, anywhere I'm after big carp, then that's generally what I tend to use. Also, if it's really turbulent, or if I'm fishing really long, 16 meters, then that 2mm bristle really comes into play as well. But it's a no-nonsense, really strong float. So we'll go straight to that tray. We'll come back to that one. Yeah, so these are all my big carp tray, I suppose. This is proper carp. I've got lots of Rubes there. 4B12 and 4B14 generally. They're all on 020 or 018 line direct. And then I can fish them direct, or I can add a hook length if I need to as well. So sometimes do fish them direct though. Then I've got more dolphins. These are all on 018, but it's just a nice general float. Sometimes I just prefer to fish with this float than a Rube. So then I've got a few shorter ones, shorter dolphins. Now they're good when I need a bristle for sort of deep shallow fishing, 3 to 4 foot deep. I do like a bristle, so they're a nice float, a 0.2 dolphin for that as well. And then I've got a couple of paste floats up the end as well, and I've got a few more to make. But these are it's a float Jamie Masson put me onto a long time ago. And you can see they're actually both big H's, but they've just changed the paint job. Actually, the one on the right with this glass stem and spring eye is what they look like now, which I don't think is as good as the old ones I've got, which have this plastic eye. But they're mega strong, big long bristle, and I might be doing a bit of pace fishing this year, and if I draw the right pegs and that. And these are just an indestructible strong float, nice and slim. Yeah, I see all sorts of pace float incarnations, but these are what I've used for years, and it's just really nice and do the trick for me. I think the stem goes all the way through to the bristle as well, so they're pretty indestructible. I've never had one break anyway, so I've only got 4 tied up at the moment, but I will get a couple more tied up. As you can see, I've got 2 on that winder as well, and everywhere else you can see I've got singles. Now I generally do prefer it on singles, but certain times of year I will double it up. I'll have 2 on each rig, sometimes 3 on each rig if they're real short sort of debris floats and that. But I find it neater to have 1 on each. But when I've got big festivals and that coming up, I'll cram quite a few more onto each winder sometimes to suit. But obviously it looks neater like that, and when it comes to retying rigs, it's a lot easier and makes more sense for me as well. So, but I don't know if I mentioned before about some on the other tray. I've got some rigs flipped the other way around. It didn't look so pretty, but they were turned around like this. Now, when I do that, it just shows that the rig's been used before. It's perfectly usable. It's long enough to use again, but I've used it before. It's often got a hook on as well or whatever. So I don't see any point wasting a perfectly good rig that I've spent time tying. So I'll just flip it around, and I know it's been used before, but it's possibly good enough to go. So that's. I'll turn that one back round. So there we are. We've got dolphins, and which have 1.5mm tips, and these rubes which have a nice thick 2mm tip. They dot down lovely. I'm using them more and more, to be honest, especially on fishing long and stuff. So let's go back to this middle tray. If the cat will just move your head. Go on, sorry mate. So right, this is my middle tray, and most of the rigs on here, I will have a full range of rigs there. They're all my this is my own design. It's called a Mojo that Gaz Mallam's made for me. Lovely little float, nice and short stubby float. I've got them right up to 0.4, 2mm bristle again. You can see I've got the 2 rubbers on there again. Don't need a 3rd rubber, and they're just nice. It's just a great margin float. I'll use it for shallow fishing sometimes, and fishing up to islands. All sorts of F1s and carp, but mostly big carp for this sort of float, and mostly in the 0.2 and 0.3s I tend to use. As you can see, I've got a couple of 0.3s turned the other way around, which I generally, which should be good to use again. And these are all on either 018 or 020 line. And quite often I'll fish 020 direct as well to a big hook for proper margin fishing. No weak spots then. So, but they're my Mojos. They are my go-to sort of shallow and margin float. So I've got a few specials there up this edge that I'll probably go through. I'll do a separate video on my specials because I am waffling on a bit. I've also got some Malman MTT2s, which are these floats. I've got them in 0.1 and 0.2. I've actually coloured the 0.2s white. Just something I'm playing around with. I'm terrible for that. I've chopped the stem down a little bit as well. And they're just for a shallow, sort of really shallow F1-y sort of fishing. Anything up to probably 18 inches I'll use a dibber, and over 18 inches I'll switch to a bristle like that really. And these ones there you can see, they are, I haven't got any loose to show you, but these are, I'll just take one out. Nick Wilkinson made these specially for me. They're for mugging. I've had them a long time, and I can't believe I've only got 4 left. I don't know where the others have gone, but they've got a really thick metal stem, so it's almost self-cocking, but obviously that won't buckle being so thick. And they're just for swinging when you use an extra long lining rig, swinging to carp and that. But Mick made these specially for me, and the only ones I will tend to see, I've put XL on the side there. I tend to put them on slightly lighter lines, no more than 018, even if after big carp, because I don't want the line to be caught in the wind too much. So I'll happily fish 016 to an 016 hook length. And as you can see, every rig on here, other than these, which I might put a big hook on straight away, as you can see, there's a big size 12 hook on there. Every other rig, I'll put a hook length on the bank as well. So it's only my margin rigs where I'll fish direct, and then I'll just chop the hook off and put a hook length on if I need to. So if I need to go lighter, and there's some specials against some inline jobbies. I will definitely do a video on some of my specials. It's quite interesting really, some of the little daft things that I do. So as far as line goes, I'm using this Paramicron. I cannot fault it at all. I used to use a line called Pro Micron, which was fantastic, and this is very similar, if not the same stuff, and it's really good. 016 for F1s and small carp, and all my big carp rigs are on 018 or 020. And then obviously I'll put a hook length down to probably 012 for all of these. But there was, back in the day, we all used to say, oh, if you fish in 08 hook length, you must use no thicker than 010 main line, and if it's 010, you use 012 main line. But that's gone now. So say I've got an 016 main line, I'll happily go all the way down to 010 with that, and then up to and including 016 as well. So no problem at all. It just saves tying up loads and loads of rigs on different diameter lines. As you can see, I've got a tray at the top on 016, a tray, another tray with 018 or 020, and that's it. That suits me. That suits me down to the ground. And you probably saw on that winder that I'd got. I use these really strong matrix lines. Look, they're really, really strong. You can't break them. And I've also got a slide device as well, so there's no need for pole anchors. Well, now, see, that's got 20 on it, so 020 direct, and I just write on the side with a soft pencil, 2B or softer, and it just obviously that's generally the only thing I write on the end of my winder, on the side of my winder, is the diameter, and then it can easily rub off with a normal eraser. So and that's it. So there's no like Tipp-Ex or marker pen or anything like that. Just write on with a nice soft pencil. It shouldn't come off, but if it's an H or a HB pencil, it doesn't often write on these very well. But use a nice soft pencil, then rub it off afterwards if you want to change something. The only other thing I might write is up here. I might write, oh, it's equivalent to a top 2, top 3, top 4 rig. Generally, that's more for my river rigs, which I'll come to later. So, and as you saw on this one, I'd actually written XL, so I just know it's on an extra long bit of line. But that can rub off easily, but it's not rubbing off under my finger. But I can rub it off with an eraser really easily, and it's not ruining your winders. And I haven't used nail varnish remover or anything daft like that. So as far as the shot goes, people ask what I shot my rigs up with. Stots are great if you're a bit clumsy, but I find they slide up and down the line a bit too much. So what I use is this Balabini stuff. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but it's hard. Not everyone gets on with it, but it's perfect for me. It's hard shot, very hard, but very, very round. Doesn't come off. I put it on my rig and then slide it up and then cut the line where I've cut it. But it comes in different sizes. It comes in these bigger tubs and also these little handy ones as well. So that's Balabini shot. So, but it's what I've used for a long time now, and I probably can't see me using anything else for a bit, to be honest. So, but I can't. Well, I don't bite shot on as a rule. I use style pincers to put it on like this. But I've also got some. These are quite nice. These Cresta ones that my friend Stuart Lister's showed me. They're very, very good. It's a nice flat plier. So pliers definitely apply a more even shot and a much kinder to your line. But that's what I do. It suits me. It's nice and neat. I'm not bothered that they're not all lined up like soldiers. If you're going that far, then you really need to get out a little bit more. But these do the job for me, and I'm more than happy with how they're going to perform in the coming spring and summer campaign. So there we have it. They're my rigs for my spring and summer commercial campaign. It will change, that box. There'll be other rigs going in and probably new designs and patterns and things that I'm always playing around with. But for now, I'm more than happy that I can go to a festival or a Fishermania qualifier, everything. And I've got everything I need to deal with the pegs I'm going to draw. So hopefully it's given me a little bit of insight into my fishing and my prep. And yes, I do tie lots and lots of rigs. I know people that tie a hell of a lot more. And if you only fish 1 or 2 venues, you certainly don't need that many rigs. But I don't know whether I'm going to be fishing a little Snake Lake for F1s one day or a big venue for big carp the next. So I need something for every eventuality, especially if we're going to go somewhere like Whiteacres, where all the lakes are a little bit different and conditions are a little bit different as they are outside today. So hopefully, anyway, that's give you a nice little insight. And from me and the cat, whee, hello, don't scratch me. From me and the cat, we'll say goodbye. Bye-bye.